Welcome to our first grammar and mechanics checkup. And specifically this week, we're going to focus on nouns. So you probably remember from grade school that a noun is a person, place, or thing. But in business, it goes a bit further. So nouns also name qualities, concepts, and activities. So whether you're talking about an employee, a location, or an abstract concept, nouns are the words that just name our reality. And so here's a golden rule for business writing. The more specific you are, the more effective your message comes across. And so let's take a look at these two examples. So on the left here, we have abstract nouns, which name general ideas that are a little bit hard to picture, like saying that we need office supplies. On the other hand, we have concrete nouns, which name specific objects that you can see or touch. So instead of asking for supplies, a more precise way of saying this is 16-pound type of copy paper. And so generally you want to use more concrete nouns so that your message is less confusing. And next we have to distinguish a general category from a specific identity. And so common nouns are generic categories like company, city, and they stay in lowercase. Proper nouns name specific entities like General Electric or Baltimore, and they need to be capitalized. And so if you're naming a specific identity, make sure that you do capitalize that first letter. And so now let's talk about plurals. The standard rule is pretty simple. All we do is add an S at the end. So chair becomes chairs, a mortgage becomes mortgages. But if a word ends in a friction sound like S, X, Z, CH, or SH, you need to add an ES to the end. And so that's why boss becomes bosses, and the last name Lopez might become Lopez's. So here we have the Y factor, and the Y factor can trip up a lot of people, but the rule is pretty straightforward. So you want to look at the letter right before the Y. And so if it's a vowel, like the E in attorney, then we would just add an S. But if it's a consonant, so like the N in company, remember we're still looking at the letter before the Y, then you need to drop the Y and add IES. So company becomes companies, city is cities, and secretary becomes secretaries. And then, of course, the English language does have exceptions. Some nouns require an internal structural change to become plural, like man becomes men, foot becomes feet, mouse becomes mice. And then for compound words, the rule is to always pluralize the principal word. And so it becomes editors-in-chief, not editor-in-chiefs. Also, instead of father-in-laws, it is fathers-in-law. And then also here's an example with runners-up instead of runner-ups. So just keep these in mind. Okay, and of course, there are numbers and abbreviations. The standard rule in modern business writing is just to add a lowercase s without an apostrophe. And so, for example, like 1990s or CPAs, the only time you use an apostrophe for a plural is when you need to clarify it. And so this is when a single lowercase letter might be misread, like writing P's and Q's. And finally, we have what's called collective nouns. So these are words like staff, faculty, committee, or group. And so even though a committee is made up of many individuals, the noun itself refers to them acting together as a single unified group. And so this just means that we generally treat collective nouns as singular words. And so let's just take a break here and look at these sentences. So the first sentence here is several attorneys collaborated on the case. Remember that there is a vowel in front of the Y in attorney, so the plural is attorneys with EYS. The Metzes, so this is a plural form of people with the last name of Metz. So the Metzes said they wanted the house. In the third example here, the word company has an N in front of the Y. So because it's a consonant, we add an IES. So the park lost 5 companies. And the fourth one here, we have the firm removed the benches. So BENCHES. And then finally, visits are possible only on Fridays. So notice we just add the S in this case and not the apostrophe. And that also follows the vowel rule. Okay, now let's look at a few more advanced ones. So for the first one, sister is the principal word, so it becomes sisters-in-law. So both my sisters-in-law paid a steep fine. For number 2, we use the clarity apostrophe for singular letters. So it's difficulty writing their B's and D's. Number 3, here we drop the Y for secretaries. For number 4, here we pluralize the principal word of runner. So this is runners up. 3 runners up claimed bias. And then finally for number 5, the main word is bill, making this bills of sale. So include all bills of sale, not include all bill of sales. And so just to summarize, you can use this precision checklist just as a cheat sheet for your writing assignments. So remember that you want to have more concrete nouns over abstract ones. See if you can also memorize that Y rule. And also use apostrophes for single or confusing letters. And that's going to be it for this overview. Good luck on the quick check questions coming up next.